Let's start off with the unusual and sort of harmless and work our way up to the absolute worst and most insidious cults that try to pass themselves off as businesses. Number 6, the Source Family. The Source Family was a spiritual commune that emerged in the early 1970s in Los Angeles, California. Founded by Jim Bakker, who later renamed himself Father Yod or Yahweh. Yeah, you heard that right, Yahweh. Yahweh what? His name should have been the first red flag. Initially, this cult gained attention for its health and food restaurant, The Source, which became a popular hangout for Hollywood celebrities. Those celebs fall for anything, don't they? The Source restaurant served as a business front for the recruitment into the cult, attracting people with its health-conscious ethos and then introducing them to the group's spiritual teachings and communal lifestyle. The good old bait and switch. Father Yod positioned himself as a spiritual leader, drawing from a mix of Western and Eastern mysticism, esoteric teachings, and his own personal philosophies to create a unique belief system for the Source family. Members of this cult took on new spiritual names, adopted a strict vegetarian diet, and participated in daily rituals and teachings led by Father Yod. The group's practices and communal living arrangements were a dead giveaway of its cult-like structure, with Father Yod exerting considerable influence over the members' lives, both personally and financially. Like all good cult leaders, he took on many wives, with one former wife calling him just a dirty old man on a lust trip. The Source restaurant helped to fund the cult, blurring the lines between commercial enterprise and religious cult. Fast forward to today, and the Source family's legacy is still alive and kicking. There are documents, books, and even re-releases of Father Yod's music albums popping up left and right. And if you're in the market for some vintage Source family merch, just hit up Google and you'll find a ton of relics sold by the cult. Business is booming as usual. Number 5, the Moonies. The Washington News Corporation has some of the most interesting roots before it solidified itself as a global powerhouse in news reporting. Back in 1954, Sung Myung Moon kicked off the Unification Church in Korea. Myung Moon based his teachings on the Christian Bible, but his church went in a unique direction because he believed himself to be the second coming of Christ and persuaded his followers to believe him. Fast forward to the 60s, and Moon decided it was time to take his show on the road. He sent missionaries to the U.S., and quickly the Unification Church found the perfect spot with the American people. But he wasn't satisfied with just spreading the good word. He wanted to utilize mass media and gain control of the public at large, like any good cult leader and messiah would do. Moon said he wanted to conquer and subjugate the world. So to do that, he launched Moon's New World Communications, a media powerhouse aimed at pushing his agenda. And from the depths of news world communications emerged none other than the Washington Times, making its debut in 1982 right in the heart of Washington, D.C. Now, this makes a lot of sense to many, considering some of the views televised by this news source are in line with some of the most ridiculous conspiracy theories and hate rhetoric in history. But hey, love it or hate it, the Washington Times ain't going nowhere. With a daily circulation of more than 50,000 readers, this cult-founded newspaper is still making waves in American households. Number 4, Alamo Christian Foundation. In recent years, the fashion world has seen a strange resurgence, the revival of highly decorated and airbrushed denim jackets designed by Tony Alamo. These extravagant garments, hand-fitted with Swarovski crystals and meticulously stonewashed, have found their way onto the backs of celebrities like Nicki Minaj, Miley Cyrus, and A$AP Rocky. But behind the business of glitz and glamour lies a cult of manipulation and control. Tony Alamo, along with his wife Susan, established the Alamo Christian Foundation in 1969, an apparent haven for the homeless on the streets of Los Angeles. They regularly handed out free food and gave shelter, but behind this facade was a sick and deeper agenda of indoctrination into their Pentecostal, apocalyptic Christian organization. Through charismatic sermons and melodious hymns, the Alamo assembled a following of vulnerable souls whom they affectionately called the Jesus Freaks. However, there was a hefty price for admission into the Alamo cult. Recruits were required to surrender all personal wealth and possessions to the Alamo Christian Foundation. This coercive tactic not only ensured the loyalty of the cult's followers, but also secured the financial empire of the Alamos. Failed actors and musicians themselves, the Alamos used their theatrical performances to charm their audience and solidify their influence. When the state of California began investigating their illegal activities, the Alamos fled to Arkansas in the 1970s, taking thousands of followers with them. Tony Alamo fully embraced his role as a cult leader and called out to his growing empire to get him the money he wanted. He made his devotees work up to 14 hours a day in the compound's factories where the famous Tony Alamo of Nashville jacket was born. The jacket propelled the cult leader to even higher levels of fame, having it even appear on Michael Jackson's album cover Bad in 1987. For decades, Alamo subjected his followers to harsh punishments and preyed on underage girls. But finally, in 2009, he was convicted of his crimes and sent to jail. Alamo passed away in 2017 while serving his sentence in North Carolina. Number 3, the Rajneesh Movement. This spiritual journey was sparked by the teachings of the Indian mystic Bhagwan Sri Rajneesh. From 1970 to 1985, the followers of this cult were known as Rajneeshis, or the Orange People, for their colorful choice of attire. The cult initially received heavy criticism in India for using yet twisting Hindu morals, and then received even more criticism when they crossed over to the United States, where they severely clashed with Christian values. Tensions were rising, and then things really hit the fan in Oregon. Followers from the Rajneeshpuram commune tried to assassinate U.S. Attorney Charles H. Turner. And here's another bizarre twist. They also tried to incapacitate voters by contaminating local salad bars with salmonella. They poisoned 751 people. Hey, Salmonella, I didn't know you were into politics. Besides the 9/11 anthrax attempts, this is still seen as the largest biological warfare attack in United States history. Somehow, this dangerous cult was still able to turn their spiritual journey into a thriving business empire, spanning from yoga studios to their own cleaning services. During their time in Oregon, they reportedly raked in a staggering $120 million. Not bad for a bunch of murderous, orange-wearing hippies, huh? Talk about spiritual gangsters. It was a wild ride of morals, money, and mysticism, and it couldn't have been possible without a good business plan. Rajneesh earned so much money that he developed a thing for Rolls Royces. The press had a field day with it, reporting that he amassed a jaw-dropping collection of 93 cars. Can you imagine the garage space? Some of the true believers thought the cars were a symbol of their guru's love. Not sure how a bunch of fancy cars that were just for him were a symbol of love for his followers. I guess that's just what a good old brainwashing will do to you. Apparently, what Rajneesh loved most about the Rolls Royce was the reaction he got to them in public. There's even a bumper sticker that his followers love to slap on the cars. Jesus saves, Moses invests, Bhagwan spends. By the mid-'80s, the movement had turned into a well-oiled machine with a slick legal and business setup. They had lots of shell companies like the Ranch Church and the Rajneesh Investment Corporation, all overseen by an umbrella organization called Rajneesh Services International Limited. It was like a whole corporate empire, with even smaller outfits dedicated to solely dealing with those Rolls Royces. Fast forward to the early 2000s, and these guys were diversifying their hustle. They were running stress management seminars for big-name clients like BMW, and reports said they were raking in anywhere from $15 to $45 million a year. Eventually, criminal allegations caused most of the followers to desert the movement, but the Osho meditation centers started by Rajneesh still remain active to this day. Number 2, the Church of Scientology. Everyone has heard about the Church of Scientology. The organization calls itself a religion, but in fact, it's one of the most ruthless business machines ever created. Firstly, the financial demands placed on its members are a significant point of concern. Unlike many religious organizations that might request donations voluntarily, Scientology is known for its high-priced, quote-unquote, courses and auditing sessions which are required for advancement within the organization. This pay-to-progress model closely resembles a business transaction rather than a spiritual journey, which leads many to believe that this cult prioritizes financial gain over the spiritual welfare of its followers. Sounds like corporate greed to me. One of their money marketing schemes falls under the classic multi-level marketing tactics that make us all cringe pretty hard as they pay recruiters a chunk of cash for every person they bring into the fold. They call these recruiters field staff members to make it sound official, but their only job is to sign you up for one of those self-help courses or auditing sessions for which they get a commission. But that isn't their only source of income, and this one is truly disturbing. Narconon is their substance abuse program that the church says is separate from the religious stuff, but nobody's buying it since it's just another way to push their Scientology agenda in disguise. Narconon's methods are extremely controversial. With multiple treatment locations around the world and the addiction crisis as widespread as it is, this cult is raking it in on the backs of some of the most vulnerable and desperate, with treatments costing anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000. What's worse is that they use some pretty questionable techniques. Narconon's treatment approach is founded on the assertion by Scientology founder L. Ron Hubbard that fat cells retain drug residues over many years, and that saunas, combined with large quantities of the vitamin niacin, can eliminate these residues and can cure you of your addiction. However, medical research has completely disproven this theory, and the really sad part is that several people have actually died in these Narconon facilities. Some claim that they were given such high doses of vitamins that it ended up wrecking their livers. But not everyone's buying what Scientology pushes so hard. Countries like Germany, Belgium, and others aren't convinced that Scientology is a legitimate religion and have recognized it as a cult. See you later, Cruz. I'm with Katie on this one. Number 1, NXIVM. Ever wonder what makes seemingly rational adults fall for the allure of a pyramid scheme? Well, this cult sucked people in pretty quickly by eliminating the woo-woo spiritual stuff and instead pretended to be a financial and personal advancement group. NXIVM, founded by self-proclaimed guru Keith Raniere, made promises of total financial freedom and complete emotional well-being with their elite business and self-help courses. He knew these are major pain points for most people. We all just want to be rich and happy, don't we? The most important technique he used to gather members was this happy lifestyle sales pitch where he lowered people's defenses and made them see dollar signs instead of red flags. Members were encouraged to hand over the bargain bottom price of $5,000 for their first NXIVM course, promising them a shot at success at anything they chose to do in life as well as success within the organization. And in true pyramid scheme fashion, there were bonuses for signing others up and having your own team. But the courses just intensified and got heavier and heavier on members' pockets with no end in sight. Obviously, only the select few sitting at the top were collecting all the money and really benefiting from it. By the mid-1980s, NXIVM had become a well-oiled corporate machine with many front companies and subsidiaries under its belt. Somehow, Raniere also managed to charm his way into the hearts of so many smart, successful people. Business tycoons, heiresses, ex-government employees, and other influential political figures. They bought into his vision hook, line, and sinker and gave Raniere unlimited access to their funds. But here is where it gets even more messed up. What was even more ominous about this cult was that Raniere secretly led a disturbing sex cult that manipulated and abused its female members. Under the guise of personal development and empowerment, Raniere exploited his position to establish a super secretive subgroup within NXIVM called DOS, which stood for Dominus Obsequious Sororium. What the heck? Women were lured into the group under the pretense of joining an empowering women's mentorship program. Did no one Google Translate the Latin? However, once indoctrinated, they found themselves in a manipulative environment where they were branded. Yes, branded with Raniere's initials, subjected to sexual slavery, and coerced into strict diets and bizarre drills that showed their level of commitment. He kept them all terrified to leave by threatening to release their naked pictures and their deepest secrets that he demanded they give him as a form of collateral to the program. Raniere's ability to conceal this level of coercive control under the facade of a self-improvement business made NXIVM, in my opinion, the world's worst cult masquerading as a business. Thankfully, those that escaped his clutches were able to bring him to justice, and this life wrecker is now serving his own life sentence. That's all for the world's worst cults that masquerade as businesses. Do you know of any other cults that pretend to be businesses? Let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and you know what to do. Like and subscribe.